This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoy this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written two powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +17323058577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here. Welcome back. What's going on? My name is Ola, coming to you live from my Empire Pro Studios. Welcome. Do me a favor, as you're coming in, hit the like button. I don't have all the bells and whistles because I'm still stuck in a hotel room in Rhode Island, but I wanted to make sure that I'm also still showing up consistently. Thank you for being here. What we do here is we extract life and relationship lessons from trendy topics and celebrity news and things like that. We can relate, so we use it to extract life and relationship lessons. I am a marriage relationship coach in real life, so I'm here to basically share some value. Hopefully you get some information, get enlightened, educated. Hopefully you can add some value to your personal relationships. All right, so welcome back. You can download my books absolutely for free at manofprestige.com. That's where you go to download the books. You can also access us as your coach, personal coach over there. We do offer consultation to make sure you're fit for our problem, for anything you're trying to solve through. We're here to help in that regards. In the meanwhile, I'm sure you're going to be entertained, but more importantly, I hope you are educated. I hope you get some insights. I hope we can rub minds together. I hope I can also learn from you. But welcome back. Shout out to all the sponsors. Shout out to all the regular supporters, Marriott, Natu, and everybody else. Always appreciate you for stopping by. D, thank you for always stopping by the videos, sharing the videos. Anybody, I might have missed your name. Sorry, Chinye. Shout out to all the regulars and anybody who is in the Prestige family. Shout out to all 6,700 of you. So, if you want to become a part of the Prestige family, it's very simple. All you have to do is hit subscribe. Just hit subscribe. All right. So today we have some stories we're going to cover. We're going to talk about Daddy Freeze today. We're going to talk about Solomon Buchi and Maraji. We're going to talk about Salt-N-Pepa, or Salt in particular. We're going to talk about Amy and TJ Holmes, CNN's TJ Holmes. There's some news there. We're going to talk about that, extract some lessons. We're going to talk about Wendy Osefo from the Real Housewives of Potomac. We're going to talk about her. We're going to talk about Auntie Yinka and the Yul-Edochie's family. We're going to talk about Akon and Nigerian men's favorite, Hakimi. All right. So again, do me a favor, hit like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications. If you're watching as a replay later on, make sure you do your shout out so I can also reach out to you. Make sure we're still touching each other. All right. Without any further ado, we're just going to move on to the to trendy stories around the world. I'll be right back. This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoy this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written two powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +17323058577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here. All right, welcome back. Let's talk about Daddy Freeze. Daddy Freeze breaks down. I haven't seen my kids in 10 days. What are we talking about here? All right, that was Daddy Freeze talking to me once upon a time. He has since, shout out to Mr. Bio, he has since unblocked me, but Daddy Freeze is my person. But anyway, let's talk about Daddy Freeze. 10 years, no hugs, no access to your own children. And then the world turns around and say you deserve it. I mean, they judge you from the outside. But tell me, how do you punish a person for silence, right? Is there a good justifiable reason to be silent in this regard. You know, um, I have my personal take, but I have a few questions. Okay, I have a few questions because oftentimes these stories that we cover here is not about the main character. In this case, that the freeze. It's about me and you. It's about how do we handle this kind of situations um, if we find ourselves in this very dicey situation, right? Um, the reality is that broken people they weaponize pain. You know, sometimes in the form of their children, and yes, they will justify the bullshit. There's more than enough, even sometimes evidence around to justify the bullshit. That's why people will talk.
We go explain because no evidence.
Yeah, people will justify the BS. It's the reality of our experience as human beings because of our emotions. Emotions no be anybody's mate. Emotions no be our mate. You and I don't know how we would act if we find ourselves in a space where we feel like the world is absolutely unfair to us. So now, with everything I just said, is that if he's justified, because he made mention of, at one point he wasn't allowed to see his kids because there was an ultimatum that he had to pay school fees. But then he also admitted that he did not have the money at the time. He's also admitted that he was very young at the time. He's admitted to coconut head pride at the time, although the way he usually admits, he always make it all inclusive. I think if you're admitting to something like that, you don't need to make it all inclusive. Just own your own part. For every time you make it all inclusive, you are basically giving away your power to the factors you can't really control, aka other human beings, right? People are gonna act the way they're gonna act. You have no reason. Sorry, you have no you don't know why they acted the way they acted. The only thing you know is the face of their life where you got involved after they became an adult, but you have no idea is what I was looking for. You have no idea what kind of trauma they bring into the table, hidden trauma responses that to you just feel like this person is attacking you, and they're coming at you. They're using your children, they're weaponizing your children. Some may say a person who stopped paying school fees is irresponsible. It's easy to judge from that standpoint. On the surface level, everything else being equal, you're absolutely correct. But sometimes emotional exhaustion is a real thing. Maybe you haven't seen it at that level where you don't have access to your kids, but you've seen it even between you and your siblings. Sometimes you just want to change rooms. You want to move to another room, and some people might look at that act and they say you're a coward. Just face it. And you might be gauging things and say, hey, I know my emotional capacity here. I don't have it. So is it possible that good men can walk away from logic? Happens all the time. Happens more than we like to admit. Why? Because we're trying to maintain a certain emotional equilibrium. We're looking for a safe space. And no, you're right. If you look at it at the surface level, especially if you're standing on the outside, you might look at it and even judge me, rightfully so. You're just a human being too. You're operating from your own emotions. You're judging me and you don't even know me like that. Yeah. Or maybe both sides, they become addicted to being right. The obsession with being right. Yes, anti-seductive behavior, right? We're trying to be right. We're trying to feel some right here, but what happens? What happens to your relationships? They get tampered with, but yes, negatively. Okay, so this whole thing we call love, that's why people sometimes say love is not enough. It turns into a scoreboard, right? Everybody's trying to compete. I'm right, you're right, I'm right. There are children in between, and then the children becomes collateral. Yeah, and they have to deal with that somewhere in the later on in their life. Okay, society is also responsible, but me and you, we can't afford to be blaming society. We have to look at what we have, the cards we've been dealt, and see what we can do with that. Okay, So yes, women may be allowed to turn pain into narrative and applause in this time and age, seemingly. I say seemingly because sometimes we haven't really assessed that properly, because you have to assess it case by case by case. Yes, it might look like that, but I want to know what's your personal opinion about this. Forgiveness, should it depend on what society says, right? People are very quick to say forgiveness is for you, just do it for you, right? Is it that simple? Right? Should forgiveness depend on who started the war? And how do we determine who started the war? Is it Daddy Freeze's ex or himself? From everything we can see right now, right? Hold on, my nose is running again. I've been better, by the way, but from everything we can see, it seems like he's the villain, right? Because he talks a lot. When you talk a lot, especially if that's what you do for a living.
You go explain because no evidence.
Yeah, it might because we tend to nitpick what aspect he will be guilty. We're looking for he should serve, right? We're looking for that angle. But the reality is we don't really know. The reality is that every relationship at some point will collapse based off of a void somewhere. A void that maybe that you can relate to maybe the 6 basic needs: certainty, right? Security, a sense of security, connection, significance. If there's no connection, sometimes we look around and we just blame the closest thing, the partner, right? And whenever you blame your partner, if there are children involved, you're indirectly hurting yourself. You're shooting yourself on the legs. So when certainty, connection, and significance die, when you don't feel like the other person values you, we tend to overreact negatively to that, and then of course pride will creep in, and then of course everybody will be operating from a place of fear, and you attract what you fear the most. Whatever that fear is, you create more of it. Fear of being the one who bends first. Because you can't stand the unfairness, because you forgot that this was a person you're having sex with and you created children. What would you do if fighting for your children means fighting a wall of bitterness? What would you do? Would you keep swinging? Or accept that sometimes the fight itself is actually the closure you're looking for? Relax, chill. Here's the truth: in love and war, all is still fair. Okay, and in loss, you cannot give what you can. Life is a journey. We're all in a journey, but at some point you have to get to a space where you can trust the law of reciprocity, meaning you're willing to give even when it seems like it's not being reciprocated. But it's usually from a place of lack of trust. Lack of trust of what? Of the law of reciprocity, because what goes around comes around. That's the reality. That's a principle of life. But in all of that, you just want to make sure you self-preserve. You want to make sure you're pouring not from an empty cup. You're pouring from a place of abundance, always working on self. Okay? Always working on. But sometimes fighting for love doesn't mean you win. At least not in the way it looks, right? Not in the way it looks. It just means you've refused to die emotionally. Okay, but let me know what your thoughts are about Daddy Freeze. Do you believe his side of the story? Do you need to wait for the other side of the story? Abi, nah, Daddy Freeze is guilty. What do you think? I would like to know what you think. What's going on, Natu? How you did, Natu? Good to see you. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications so you're notified when we go live, when we drop videos. You're missing the videos out, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you're subscribed, notified. Make sure you're checking back, because if you have been engaging other stuff while I'm not around, then you will miss out big time. Okay, but let me know what you think about Daddy Freeze, and we've got more to cover. I'll be right back. This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books: Get My Marriage Back and Number 1 Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here. All right, Solomon Buchi versus Maraji. Should men's pain be validated too? With Solomon Buchi, is a social media commentator. Maraji is a comedian, skit maker, all of that. Women advocate. So, should men's struggle during pregnancy be acknowledged? Should it be appreciated? Should it be supported too? That's what we're talking about. Or, last but not least question, is that insensitive to the mystery of womanhood and pregnanthood or pregnancyhood? Is that something that we struggle with in this time and age? You know, it all started this, I can't recall his name, but shout out to him. He said verbatim, the day I had my son, I didn't sleep for like 12 hours. I had my son. Everybody was happy. Nobody even asked, Guy, how are you? When he said, Guy, how are you? There's a laugh that came out of me. I'm not making fun of him, okay? He's trying to make a point. And I'm guessing that video is much longer than the clip that the whole world reacted to and, went viral. He said, I did close to 48 hours without closing my eyes. The husband is a glorified errand boy. Nobody cares. It's kind of like similar to what we see about Father's Day. We all get boxers and socks and sometimes singlets, right? But the Mother's Day is what it is. Mother's Day is celebrated by all of us, right? Father's Day is celebrated by, routine, just routine, duty, fulfill all righteousness. Mother's Day, we go all out. We get the children, hey, make sure you appreciate your mother, stuff like that. For me, I'm okay with that. But anyway, that gentleman's post went viral. And of course, comedian Maraji did not like the comparison. Solomon Buchi stepped in. He came to save the day. He stepped like, everybody stop for a second here. And he basically said watching his wife going through pain made him lose sleep too. Okay. Maraji did not like the comparison, but Solomon said, you know what? Watching her go through pain, I lost sleep too. And then he reminded everybody of the duality of the human experience. It was a lot of English to say the least. It was a lot of English. But I have a few questions. When there's pregnancy and all of that, everybody focus the attention on the mother, right? Is that such a bad thing? It's a question. But also, does that mean, if it's not such a bad thing, does that mean we don't acknowledge what men goes through? I won't say two. I won't say two because it's not a comparison. Gentlemen, it's not a comparison. Is that, Maraji is calling it tone deaf. I think it's kind of tone deaf. I think it's about reading the room. I think it's about certain things that we don't need to say, certain things we don't need to say. But some people say it's dangerous because that's what's wrong these days. We can't hear men out. Men can no longer speak their mind. They can't say what they feel. And guess who the biggest advocates of that is? Women. Women want men to speak up. Speak up. Tell us what you're going through. I want to train my boys to speak up and not go through stuff. Except when their wife is pregnant. So here's the real question, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the real question. Should men's struggle during pregnancy be acknowledged, supported, appreciated, or is that an outright insult? It's a question. It's a question. Is there a danger attributed to men being quiet during pregnancy or ever, or even telling the story 20 years later? Is there some kind of danger to that? It's very clear to me that there's danger. Okay, there's danger in the divine labor to have offsprings, right? That women only go through. Only women carry that burden from a physical standpoint, but even when it's happening emotionally, right? In every sense you can think of it, there's no way to compare a man's experience to that of women, right? But is it an abomination to talk about emotionally what a man could potentially be going through? See, me, I can't use mine because as far as I'm concerned, making sure that my wife is safe because of the pain she's going through while she was pregnant is not, I don't interpret that as pain for me. I interpret that as, how do I interpret that? I interpret that as, yeah, of course, like duh, like of course I care. I want to make sure she's safe, right? But other men are saying no, like it's okay. We should be able to talk about this. You know, some people say a man's role during pregnancy is simple: just show up and pay the bills. But do you agree that emotional presence costs more than financial support ever could? Okay, now financial support, yes, but does it cost more than what the risk of carrying a pregnancy? That's a question. Right now, some other people said, okay, emotions during pregnancy threaten a sacred narrative. That was a comment that I saw. And then women suffering must always stand alone to be respected. Right? Is this true? Is this reality? What does this look like in real life? One of the things that we discount truthfully is that emotional health or mental health is part of our reality. But what's your opinion? I would like to know what you think. Okay. Yeah, somebody said this is hard for me. This was hard for me too. Somebody said I was pregnant in the head. We were mentally pregnant. That's what some men said. But hey, here's the truth. I'm going to leave you guys with this on this particular topic. Not everything seen by the eyes or perceived by the art needs to be spoken words. Okay, some things it's not like you're burying it, but you have to find other source of outlet. Okay, the reality is that there are double standards on both sides of the gender. Of when I say gender, I mean man or woman. There's there's double standards on both sides. And this is one of those situations where we have to give it to women. In my personal opinion, I still want to know your thoughts, but this is in my personal opinion, this is one of the situations where we have to, So I'm not really surprised at the pushback. I'm not surprised. I do think the world right now, especially social media, is overly reactive to everything negatively, very sensitive. We can't talk anyhow, but still, I think this one is one of those situations we have to give to women. Okay. Empathy is not gendered, but nonetheless, we have to face reality when it comes to social construct. It's part of the things that I teach. Social construct. You have to pay attention to social construct. It's called social intelligence. You have to learn how to read a room. There's certain things Yoruba people so there's a reason for that. We're not wiser than those people. We might have more knowledge, more information, more internet, but we're not necessarily wiser than those people. And we have to move very, very carefully, but with freedom. All right. Let me see here. Shout out to not to say true. I don't know what you're saying true to, but let's move on to the other stories around the world. Hit the like button, share, subscribe, turn up your notifications. You know the rest. I'll be right back. This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here. All right, Salt-N-Pepa speaks. Salt, she spoke. She's talking. Who is Salt? What I mean, what I mean. All right, sorry about that. I'm back. My Wi-Fi is switching back and forth. Let me see if I can forget this. Forget, remove. There you go. Aha. Just wanted to make sure because the internet at the hotel is crappy. They're going to collect bad review from me. But the way this whole thing is set up, I have to just be patient and be here. But anyway, let's talk about Salt-N-Pepa. You remember that song? What a man, what a man, right? Yeah, that song. Exactly, from the 90s, from early 90s, they were very popular, but she seemed to have been the most religious amongst them, amongst the two. There's salt and there's pepper, and this is salt. And I saw a video on Instagram of her crying, and she was basically responding to people that have carried rumors about her ex. They're saying that they caught her husband with another man. That was the rumor. She told her story, but the thing about the internet, when you tell your story, quote unquote tell your story, people also, you will never be able to tell the full story, and people will take bits and pieces of what they can relate with, particularly what they can use to perpetuate their bad toxic behavior, and they might drive it, and negative will go more viral. So the rumors was that her husband, her ex-husband, which I think they just divorced recently, that he was with another man according to her, and then she said she had lost herself trying to fit into someone else's box, and somehow that statement becomes something else. What does that mean? It becomes very vague, but you have to eat as a salt and pepper, especially after a divorce, right? So you do interviews, and then people will take bits and pieces. But here's the thing: in love and war, all is fair. You have to be prepared for that, and you can't. I hope you have enough shells to protect yourself, because the reality is that the media will do what it does. So people were thinking that maybe the real betrayal was that the guy was with another man. Would it matter at all? I guess it will matter because of our social construct. As much as woke people try to pretend, right? They try to pretend that they are, yeah, they are more accepting of progressive understanding of the human experience. Like, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is that he cheated. No, it did matter to most women. When you ask them if your man had cheated with a man, a woman, would it matter? I bet you, unless, listen, the reality is that one will be more devastating than the other. Okay, that's the reality. So some, some, some people, they jump on the internet, okay, and in the spirit of they wanted to defend who they think is the bereaved or who they think is the victim, they end up hurting the person that's actually their person. We do it in in-law relationships, right? You jump out there, they came to report you, your friend came to you and came to tell you and say, hey, this is what I'm going through, this is what I'm going through. And then they went back home, and then tomorrow you're expecting them to continue the story, but they kind of like, zip, they're not talking. Why? Because they collect prick yesterday. And at the worst, they're confused right now. They're not sure what they want to do. But in your mind, you say, you know what? You've said yesterday, move on, dump him. But I've been warning you guys, stop poking your nose into people's prick and quickest matter. It is not your business. All you need to do is be a supporting shoulder to cry on. A good shoulder to cry on, a supportive system is what you need to be to your friends. Stop being so upfront with your useless opinions. They're mostly useless. Why? Because the person that's inside of it is the person that can know what they're feeling. They don't necessarily know how to say that in words, but they know what they're feeling. And sometimes they will use the wrong words. They might say he did this to me, he did that, he did that. There's some extremes, but most of the times, the reality is that you don't know what they're going through. You don't know what value they're getting that made them stay. So you telling them to dump them or to being too forward with that is not necessarily helping. Okay. The reality is that some will say friends should always defend. Friends should always be there when relationship fails. But what does being there mean, right? I'm using this as a, I'm using this story because again, the internet, some people might actually remember I said they will project. They'll project their toxic interpretation of what you're going through on you. She went on the internet to come and say, she put herself in a box, in someone else's box for so long, and she needed to. And then some people say, yeah, they saw a picture of him just hanging up. There was a picture that was even on Instagram where the guy did his hand like this on his. They took pictures together. And so somebody said in the comment that picture did not help in terms of the rumors. Somebody said, I wouldn't come out and defend it because she jumped out doing the same thing again, defending him, right? To say, hey, this is not, she didn't like the disrespect to her ex-husband. But the internet is like your friends. It's like the external world to your relationship, right? You go explain.
We go explain because no evidence.
They're always going to run with what they know, what they have, what they feel. And oftentimes it's completely disconnected from. So to Salt, right? She or any thoughts out there, make sure that you understand this dynamic. No one cares, okay? In the grand scheme of things, they don't care. They could be a supportive system, okay? I care. I could be a supportive system, but I'm being honest as well. Like, the reality is that people only care about their interpretations of what you're telling them, and that can be far from the reality of things. Okay, that's the expectation. But you, the external person, the person that wants to support you, that friend, you're the friend that your friend came to cry on your shoulder. Now you feel betrayed because you went back to him. Yeah, you deserve it.
Sorry.
You deserve it because they hear word. You don't hear word. But let me dive into another angle of this story. Like I was saying, I think she's the more religious one among Salt-N-Pepa. Peppa was on a reality TV show not too long ago with the kids of hip hop, a show like that, something like that. She had a daughter on there. She's not as religious, right? I'm not here to discount religion. I'm here to discount your idea of spirituality. Okay, you need to have a direct connection with God. If you did, you wouldn't need to say it out loud so easily. It will be your lifestyle. It will be your way of life. It will show in the way you respond to crisis. Okay. Just because you're religious does not guarantee a long-lasting, loving relationship either. Okay. Nothing guarantees it, but the closest thing to it is your skills. Do you have skills when it comes to personal relationships? I mean, you've been winging things as usual. Just because you can fall on Bula, just because you can enter somebody's quickles does not mean you have the skills for relationship. Okay, that one is more of a natural thing, right? A natural urge you have when you see a person that you are sexually attracted to. You can do that. That one takes just but a moment. For some of you, it's 2 minutes. Okay, for some of you, it's multiple 5 times a day. Okay, but that only lasts for so long too. But when it comes to long-term relationships, which we all want, we want it because it's a form of connection for us, right? And in order to establish real connection, there's going to need to be certainty. We call it security, right? You need to feel secure. You're going to need to feel like you're growing in it, because if you're not growing in it, there's 2 people involved. Remember, somebody eventually is going to feel the need to outgrow the other person, and then you get left behind and you say, hey, but you sold a vow. There was a vow. You could just explain tired, okay? Because we're human beings. We can say vows and all this kind of stuff. If you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're doing. Once upon a time, duty and responsibility was good enough, right? But that's because the internet was not moving as fast. In fact, it did not exist. But in this time and age, I hope you know what you're doing. It's not going to be as simple as establishing whatever you guys want to call duty, responsibility. Your duty and responsibility is to know how to adapt in a very fast-paced world. Adapt to a moving, evolving relationship that's evolving in real time, very, very, very fast. That's your responsibility. Here's the truth. Here's the truth. When you shame or you speak ill of someone's ex on their behalf, you're not helping them. Okay. In fact, you're hurting them more. You might not see it visibly yet, but you're hurting them more and you might end up getting casted to the side. Okay. In fact, you're feeding in a wound, but in due time, that person will want to heal from that wound. Okay. And then the second part of this lesson here is that faith without work is dead, and healing without self-love is literally impossible. Okay. You cannot be pouring from an empty cup. And the only thing that can guarantee a long-lasting loving relationship in this life is your own wholeness. Okay, you need to come as a whole. Okay, it doesn't mean perfection. It means you're aware that sometimes you fall short and you're always working on building yourself. That's what it means. Okay, but let me know what your opinion is about this Salt-N-Pepa story. I want to know what you think about it. There might be some detail that I missed. The lessons nonetheless are the same. Okay, all right. Do me a favor, hit the like button, share, subscribe. Let's move on to some other trendy stories around the world. I'll be right back.
This is Ola, man of prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.
Welcome back. Let's talk about TJ Holmes and Amy Robach. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I know TJ Holmes from CNN way back. Well, not too long ago, he was still on CNN, but I think he made it to Good Morning American, Good Morning Show, call it GMA 3, right? So they were both hosts on that platform, and now they are officially engaged. And you say, how? Well, just 3 years ago, about 2022 or so, they were involved in a secret affair that led to both of them losing their jobs and marriages. Yes, they were both married to different people. Yeah, they were on the show together, but then they were ousted. Shout out to the tabloids and paparazzis and them. They caught them. Okay, but recently they've revealed in the brand new podcast, I guess, that they're running, that they've been engaged for about a month, and no one noticed. People move on. 3 years is a long time ago. People moved on. People are much more forgiving than you will realize. Okay, forgetting, more like forgetting, not forgiving. The internet does not really forgive, but so they were saying that Amy had been wearing a ring. It's like me, I don't pay attention to rings, though. Personally, I don't. I know it might be a terrible habit. I just don't. I more so pay attention to what the scripture calls the fruits. I don't have to pay attention to it. The fruits reveal themselves, right? So I take the easy way out. How you act is how you act. Your way of life tells me, the way you talk tells me everything I need to know most of the time. So at that time, it caused a public outrage. Everybody was like, cheaters, work husband. It's a matter of work husband, work wife, and things like that, So now they're walking proudly into a new commitment. Now, some of us might look at this and say, foundation, this is going to be a terrible foundation. Some people might say, love built on lies, they will never last. Some of you are obsessed with Nollywood movies. I see you. Love built on lies will never last, but there are many love that were built on what you thought was truth, but didn't last. Well, like half of marriages, last time we checked, in most developed societies, are going in the ditch, right? So is it because they were built on lies? Maybe. Some people say, oh, it's because people get married for the wrong reasons. Some marry for money, and some marry just for children. And then they wonder, right? We have all these different rhetorics and talking points, you know. In the real world, the line between the villain and the victim is just who the story benefits. I hate to bust your bubble. Okay, who is the story benefiting? Now, obviously, if you're telling me a story, you will tell me the story from your perspective. I didn't say the one that favor you, just your perspective. Because oftentimes, these days people are like, let me be honest too. Let me be honest too. I wasn't always innocent too. That is still a lie. Okay, that's still a lie. Well, what do you mean? I wasn't always innocent. I'm telling you that there's something else going on. It's not about your ability to tell me that you are telling me the truth or not. There's something else going on. I'll tell you one of the things that's going on. A story is being told in real time, and its story has not ended yet. Right? Unlike in Nollywood and Hollywood movies where you see the end. Even when you see to be continued, you kind of know it's the end because they closed that budget. That movie is done, right? They sowed a seed into you that they want to sow in terms of the story of the movie. There was maybe a semi-conclusive, maybe there's a sequel. At the end of the day, it's just a movie, right? But many of us just fantasize on these ideas of movies, which is why we keep getting disappointed when it comes to personal relationships. We see things from this perspective of all the things that media feed us. It's not a bad thing. I'm just shedding light on the reality, Sometimes what we call love, love gone wrong, is it's not what we are seeing. It's just our perspective of what we would like the story to look like. What does this have to do with CJ Holmes? Again, we saw what we saw in real life. We saw what we saw, right? In the media, they were cheaters, right? I said we're cheaters. Doesn't mean they're always cheaters. They cheated, okay? In fact, if they go to 12-step program, they might say, call yourself, I'm a cheater, right? But we're fantasizing here for the most part. From some of the comments I've seen, people are fantasizing about the potential of karma in the future. How you get them is how you lose them. We're so gullible. Let me ask you a question. Is it only that we call love wrong when it makes us uncomfortable? I want you to think a little bit deeper about this one. Because we're not here to gossip. We're here to learn some real life lessons, right? Is it when we feel uncomfortable that we call it wrong? Now, if you're in the situation, sorry. But is it when you feel uncomfortable that we start to call love wrong, or love is a scam, or love is not enough? Like, did we take the time to think about what we're saying when we issue out some of these talking points? Right? Sometimes it might be because it doesn't fit into your moral templates. Oh, you didn't think that morality is a template. You didn't think that morality is a standard that you were programmed with. Outside, of course, don't cheat, don't steal, don't lie. Right? Don't hurt other human beings. Okay? Don't steal another person's right to life or right to humanity, right? Outside of those basic things, I'm talking about morals, what many of us call morals, character. Gentlemen, you're always crying character. You think character is all it takes to be in a long-lasting relationship. You didn't think that your spouse might end up having a husband spouse, work spouse, work wife, work husband. You didn't think that because in your heart of hearts, it's just wrong. You know what? You're right, it's wrong. But you know what people do when they don't feel right, when things feel uncomfortable? The same way you are judging, they also do the wrong thing, even you're not supposed to be judging, right? Let me end with this. Then I want to know your opinion. I want to end the segments like this. In love and war, I know you might be like, that's one of my favorite quotes. No, it's just a reality. In love and war, all is fair. I didn't say in Hollywood. I did not say in Nollywood, though. In Nollywood, the villain always die. Okay, a terrible death, hellfire. Okay, in Ishawuru movie, the villain, the evil spirits, they always die. In real life, evil spirits, they never die. Have you noticed? So it might have started all messy. Maybe it hurt people. That's a fact. There's no way they did not hurt people, children, their previous spouse, right? That's a fact. But I want you to remember that perfection was never the goal. Growth is still the goal. Okay, it's a necessarily human need, and sometimes people might hurt the people they love just to achieve that. And I'm saying that to you to pay attention. I want you to pay attention. Don't be so obsessed with karma. Okay, karma is real. Clap for yourself. Yeah, I agree. But don't be obsessed with that. I want you to be more intentional than waiting for karma to hurt all the people you perceive as evil. I want you to be more intentional around social intelligence, emotional intelligence, about making sure you're paying more attention to pouring into other people. If you do that, if you feed people, they won't want to hurt you. It's the same concept of that man that keeps going into that cage to go and feed that lion. Did you ever notice that lion will never eat them up? Unless of something terribly goes wrong up here. But generally speaking, they will safely go in there, they give them the food they need, and they keep coming out, and the lion keeps looking forward to it. People don't leave marriage just because they're evil. I'm generalizing. It's true for the most part. They don't just do that. They're doing that because there's a void that needs to be filled. Sometimes they hurt the people they love the most. So what can you do with that? Pour into yourself. That's the only thing I want you to focus on. When you pour into yourself, you will be able to feed other people from a place of abundance. And generally speaking, they will find it very difficult to betray you. Okay, that's the lesson I want you to take away from this. Stop focusing on karma. Like, I wish them the best. I'm sorry for the people they hurt in the past. Wish them the best. Now let's focus on you. Make sure you're taking care of yourself so you can pour into other people from a place of abundance. That's your point of leverage. Everything else, like waiting for karma, it's not going to work. It's not Hollywood or Nollywood movies. Let's move on to some other trendy stories. I'll be right back.
This is Ola, man of Prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number 1 Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.
All right, welcome back. Let's talk about Wendy Osefo. Am I moving in like a matrix? It's okay. It's my internet. If you can hear me clearly, let's just work with what we got, okay? Let's work with what we got for now. It's the same thing I'm always preaching here. Learning your resources and making the most out of it. That's how you win in life. Losers will complain and complain and complain, right? They will explain and explain and explain. It can't work. It doesn't work.
We go explain because no evidence.
All right. So, Real Housewives of Potomac star Dr. Wendy, our very own Dr. Wendy Osefo. Nigerians are everywhere. We take over everything, but we need to represent properly, though. Come on. Most Nigerians are honest, living human beings, extreme experts, hardworking people. Do I need to say this to you? If I need to say that to you, you are lame. If I needed to say that to you before you know that that's a fact, you're lame. Dr. Wendy Osefo does not represent the average Nigerian. Okay, so let's get to the story. Okay. Dr. Wendy Osefo's husband is a guy called Eddie Osefo. We just found out recently that he's also supposed to be a lawyer. Anyway, they were arrested and they were charged with multiple counts, 16 charges, 16 counts I heard. of insurance fraud after allegedly faking a home burglary to claim nearly $450,000 in stolen property. Well, investigators they say there are several items they reported missing and had actually been returned for refunds at Macy's. No, maybe not Macy's. I don't know where exactly. They were asking for refund. They've returned a lot of those stuff for refunds before the alleged breaking into a home. And they even spotted Wendy wearing one of the supposedly stolen rings on social media. The couple who posted bond and are awaiting trial maintain their innocence and have asked for privacy. All right, I'm sorry. You want privacy? I don't know about that one. Oh.
That is God.
I don't know about that one. Anyway, they're supposed to ask for privacy. It's a normal thing that people ask for during these difficult times, as you will, if you will. All right. So now, she's supposed to be the classy, the educated, the untouchable among their caste. She carried herself with it's supposed to be grace, but personally, I didn't see it that way. I just saw a lot of. Let me be fair to her. I didn't see her that way. I just saw as I've already always seen. There's this attitude, not the husband, but her. There's this attitude of keeping up with the Joneses. But the reality TV show arena is kind of like that. Is you find yourself in a space, in an environment. That's why social intelligence is necessary. Because you need to pay attention to the environment where you find yourself and how much influence that would have on your behavior. This is real. This is a real life thing. So what really happened? Was it greed or survival? Okay. A person that's supposed to be the classy, educated, is now smiling along with the husband in matching gray inmate clothes. Not cool, right? Not cool. You see, when you live in a world where perception is currency, reality TV shows, right? Attention is currency. What did I saw a post yesterday by Cubana chief priest. He said, money na water. He was defending the phrase, money na water. That he was basically tackling one older gentleman, billionaire, that he's old school. He's going to sit down somewhere because now it's all about attention. Well, whatever the currency is, people do get obsessed over it. Currency is money, right? And people often lose themselves when money is involved. The line between hustling and deceiving becomes dangerously thin when you're obsessed with what you look like on the outside. We all care about what we look like. It's called packaging, presentation. We should all care about that. But there's a balance that you need to strike. You need to make sure you don't lose yourself. Okay? So Wendy and Eddie, they got caught in desperation. That's what it looks like to me. Okay? Sometimes the income don't flow as fast as what you think. If you bet everything, your livelihood, you bet everything on this thing that's supposed to break through. I was still having that discussion with my wife because I saw a young lady. Shout out to her. She put it out, so I mentioned her name. Her name is the joyful something care, the joyful Aduke or something like that. If you search for her on YouTube, she's very she has some viral stuff out there. But she started recording a video of her driving Uber, and people were telling her that why should you care about what people say? We all care about what people say. Let's stop the cap. Okay, we all do, but we need to find a balance. We need to make sure that, because you're pouring all this energy into making sure you look a certain way, but it's empty inside, you might end up in this kind of desperate zone. It's the same concept with relationships. When I say self-love, don't be so desperate to appease people. Don't be so desperate to offer an apology if you haven't taken the time to understand why you're apologizing. It's the same principle. across the board. Okay, so now let me ask you a question. Do you agree that financial pressure can make even educated people people that went to school, people ordinarily that will never steal? Let's talk about cheating. People ordinarily that say, I will never cheat. Can they mistakenly fall on Bola if it's empty inside? Can it make them rewrite their moral code? Yes, it can. I just want you to think. Okay. When desperation takes over, it doesn't matter financially, physically, emotionally, you will justify anything to survive. You will justify the bullshit. Okay. Now, our personalities are different. Some people are comfortable committing certain atrocities. Some people are not comfortable. But there's some kind of atrocity that you're comfortable committing. But you have self-control today. It's easy for you to say you have self-control today because everything is good. It's all good, right? But if you ever find yourself in a place of emptiness, which will creep in on you, it's not something that announces itself that I've come in. It usually creeps in on you. If you find yourself in a place of emptiness, yes, you might end up committing atrocities that you've sworn it will never be me. Yeah. Reality TV shows is a pressure cooker. All right. And the reality is that it rewards dysfunction. Okay. And it punishes authenticity. If you're too real, you won't last. Media in general. I mean, look at us right here. Look at us, our small prestige family here, right? If we're doing toxic stuff right now, we would have grown by leaps. But I'm okay. I'm happy. I'm happy where we are. Okay. I'm happy with the steady growth. Let's take our time. No wala. Okay. As long as you are getting the value that I intend to pour out to you, okay, then I'm all good. The more immune you think you are, here's the pride aspect of things. The more immune you think you are, the deeper you fall. Humility is everything. It is not kumbaya story. It is not me preaching kumbaya. Okay. Let's be guided. That's all I'm trying to say. Okay. Hello, BBK. Biba. I think that's Biba. I don't know. For some reason, they start showing the hand. Good to see you. Anyway, let's move on to some other trendy stories around the world. Let's talk about Auntie Yinka. Shall we talk about Auntie Yinka and the Edochie clan? Yeah. I'll be right back.
This is Ola, man of Prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoy this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number 1 Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.
Welcome back. All right. The Edochie family saga gets louder and louder and louder. Okay. Some of our biggest videos on this platform is about the Edochie family, particularly Yul and Queen May Yul-Edochie. All right. Now, there's a special type of character that entered the zone not too long ago, and we'll be talking about her. We call her Yinka, Auntie Yinka Theisen. Yeah, right. She came into the family by way of Yul-Edochie's brother, Lincoln Edochie. Okay. So, but now they are ex-lovers. Okay, but Auntie Yinka is talking. She's sticking to social media again. She's the gift that keeps giving, and as long as I find an angle for lessons, I will keep bringing it. All right, so she took to social media to mock Queen May Edochie for being cheated on, and she called her a silly queen. She called her a silly queen. She said, if she was that great, why would a woman steal her husband? she isn't that great. You've met your match. Edochie, bring it on. Anyway, so I was like, oh, interesting. A husband is stolen. Yul-Edochie was stolen. According to Yinka, Yul-Edochie was stolen by Watermelon Judy Austin. Anyway, was she stolen? I know what you're about to say. But let's think about this. If you were a good enough wife, he wouldn't have cheated. Right? Right? I'm asking. It's a question. If you were a good enough husband, she would not have cheated. If you were a good enough wife, he wouldn't have cheated. The internet was split into half, of course. Debatable, right? Where is Ola going with this one? Where are we going with this one? But that's what society sometimes says, a man that strays, it must be that the wife failed somewhere. What was she doing? What was she looking at when her husband was stolen from her? Did you notice something here in what I'm saying right now? Have you noticed it? The husband, like this in Ela, was stolen. What were you looking at when the husband was stolen? Right? See, in the same breath, we want loyalty. In the same breath, we want to be very quick to blame, right? Is that just one of the comforting lies that we tell ourselves? I'm wondering. This whole thing is always about emotional management, right? Always managing our emotions, managing our ego, our needs, the silent wars. Me and you, we know the cause of we don't like basketballs. We kind of don't like basketballs, right? We go into our small feed. We look at the news. We see them arguing against themselves, but we kind of like, we take a side quietly, right? Right? But, I think Yinka she's quite cruel with what she said, for saying that out loud. In her mind, she's like, I'm telling the truth. I'm just going to tell the truth. What were you looking at when Watermelon stole your husband? Right? She was bold enough to tell one side of the truth, right? At least we can agree. Some people agree with that. So it's some people's truth, right? And many people quietly believe that. Okay. But, we believe that love is earned. We believe that respect is earned until somebody is stolen. I said somebody. We believe that respect is earned. Trust is earned until somebody is stolen. Once somebody is stolen, then a crime was committed. A crime was committed. And now you have to do the time. Who committed the crime? The stolen husband? That's what one side of the internet, that's what they're saying, okay? The stolen husband is a human being. In fact, just a few hours ago, I heard somebody on social media was listening, and the person was like, don't say that about the African man. An African man cannot be snatched. That's a man saying that, by the way. But it's coming from a different angle. It's not coming from your angle. It's coming from patriarchy. Like, don't disrespect a traditional man. He cannot be stolen. He exercised his options of polygamy. So stop it. Stop it there. Now, you ladies are like, a man cannot be stolen. He must be held accountable for his behavior. You see the confusion? There's confusion everywhere. Everywhere you go, there's confusion. But I want to know what your personal opinion is. Is Auntie Yinka being cruel for saying her version of the truth? She's projecting. She just collected woto. Breakfast is not your mate.
Stop the cap.
Breakfast is not your mate. Breakfast will make you justify bullshit, okay? We make you blame, make you shame, we make you insult, right? We make you commit atrocities that are very, very close to you like that. Let me make this thing bigger since I'm a lot choppy. I'll make this. No. Actually, let's leave it that way because of editing later on. Right? Breakfast will make you do and breakfast comes in doses, small doses sometimes. Breakfast is not always somebody dump you outrightly. Sometimes they just silent treatment that goes into the other room, and before you know it, the way you react to that, you'll be all over the place. Messy. Anyway, the idea of holding somebody hostage in a relationship and is beyond Auntie Yinka's hurt. Okay, it takes a lot more for somebody to go and be with a side chick, maintain a relationship with them long term, pay their bride price, have a baby with them. Well, somebody impregnates them, carry that baby full term. I don't know if it's full term, but carry that baby until the baby was born, and then come out and announce to the world and say, "Behold, my beloved son from my second wife." And that was his announcement to the world. It's going to take a lot more than Kweime's conduct, behavior. It could be an influence. It could be an influence on overall. We don't know what Kwame was like in that marriage. Okay, it's not ours to judge negatively or positively, because some of you are going to be like, "What do you mean? Was it not good enough?" Like that's exactly. I'm saying the same thing you are saying. Okay, but I think Auntie Yinka is just as ignorant as me and you. What we can all conclude on is this. Okay, it's going to take a lot more, to find themselves out of a divorce than one person's behavior. Okay, this is a good time to say it takes two to tango. When you have an outcome, the outcome is that marriage did not survive. You can say it takes two to tango. Most of you say it takes two to tango at the beginning. When you're supposed to be sowing seeds. You see the confusion? This is a good time to say it takes two to tango. To create the outcome they have right now today, yeah, it takes at least two. It doesn't take one person. We can all agree to that one. So here's the truth though. Why people love to say no one can be stolen, we can't ignore our actions, our inactions, and how they shape our emotional reality. Okay. But the reason why we don't like blame is because blame usually focuses on one simple, stupid part of it. From a place of projection, the one you can relate with, the one side of your brain that works. And that's usually not true. Okay. So, but even with that truth, cheating can never be justified, period. Cheating, lying, stealing is a responsibility of the perpetrators. They have to do the time for the crime. You can't sit around and say they made you do it. Okay. By the way, everyone that say I do, you don't know what you're doing. Life will teach you some lessons. The best teacher is still experience. Okay. So if you're there single, never been entangled, but you're looking to discover yourself, you're lying to yourself. Okay. Ojo, you're paranoid. Okay, you're paranoid. That's what's going on with you. Okay, and you need to work on that. I'm not judging you for it. You need to work on it. Okay, marriage is life inside of life. It's a mirror that exposes. It exposes your strength, your weaknesses, and your capacity to love, of course. It's either you have it or you don't have it. If you don't have it, it will fail. It is not as spiritual as you think it. It is very spiritual. Okay, it involves your intentionality with respect to social and emotional intelligence. Okay, so even though Auntie Yinka tried to use shame as a weapon here, as most people do when they are hurt, who hurt you, Auntie Yinka? But in the end, our attack only exposed the universal truth: we're all flawed. But a cheater is a cheater. A cheater is a cheater. A liar is a liar. and a thief is a thief. All right. So let's move on. Let's move on. Let me know what your thoughts are. I want to know your opinion about this. Let me know what your thoughts are. But let's move on to some other trendy stories around the world. I'll be right back.
This is Ola, man of Prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number One Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.
Welcome back. Yeah, let's talk about Akon. Akon, locked up, won't let me out. Our very own African Akon. Yes, we're very proud of Akon's accomplishments. But Hakimi is reloaded. You remember that Hakimi story? You remember? You remember Hakimi story? The football player, right? After nearly 29 years, I think we've reported this on this already, but there's another new part of the story. This Hakimi reloaded thing, right? But anyway, we reported that after 29 years of marriage, Akon's wife, I thought all along he was a polygamist, but you know, maybe internationally. But in the Yankee, you can only have one wife legally. Outside of that, it's called bigamy. Okay, or some people speak, I don't know. Chi, come and correct me again, please. Bigamy, which one is it? Anyways, it's against the law. I think it's bigamy. Anyway, he was married to Tomeka, a lady called Tomeka, who has reportedly filed a divorce and seeking, reportedly, I think this is rumors, I think it's stupid, but maybe there's some truth, but she's seeking. That's the rumor, the Hakimi side of it, but we'll talk about that in a second. She's seeking 100 million euro. Is that euro? I'm not sure what euro, something like that. But rumors claim that when the court examined Akon's finances, just in this last 2 weeks, they finished looking at Nigerian men. We have to do better with the kind of news we carry. Hey. Anyway, in these last 2 weeks, they finished examining all of multi-million-dollar fortune of Akon. Yes, Akon is worth millions. Let's stop the cap. At least the name Akon is worth millions, tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. Somehow, they finished counting all the money in the last 2 weeks, and they found out that a old Akon has $10,000 to his name. That's it. With the rest supposedly held in his mother's name. Drawing comparisons to footballer Ashraf Hakimi's viral case, by the way, which was debunked. Okay. Now, social media went celebrating. The men on social media celebrating smart asset protection. Educated people talking about smart asset protection, putting money under your mother's name. I told you, even educated people, they will justify bullshit out of their ass, literally. Okay. And I told you that common sense is never enough. Not in this life and relationship issues, at least. Because common sense, all it does is tell us don't cheat, don't steal, don't lie. But me and you know that there's more to this. Okay. Now, here's a question. Is Akon really hiding millions under his mother's name? Is that even a real thing? I mean, gentlemen, we're just addicted to this fantasy of male revenge. Is this a revenge type of thing? Opwe, we show them Pepe. They have been filing divorce. The richest woman in the world is because of divorce. So we must show them Pepe too. Your mother is the best one. Your mother loves you more than your wife. Let's be honest, gentlemen. We like to call a spade a spade. Like, let's be honest. Can we do that? Is this a celebration of wisdom? Or a celebration of fear? I'm asking I'm just asking. Many people are saying it is smart asset protection before a woman could take all your fortune that you've been building all these years away from you. But again, tell me, what kind of man builds an empire expecting betrayal ahead of a partnership that's designed around trust? Like, I'm trying to process it. Now, do you really believe that Akon, not just a global artist, a whole conglomerate, right, with lawyers, accountants, that he will be moving money through his mother's name? There's no laundromat anymore where they can launder money. They have to move it through their mother's name. Abi, this is just us men's bedtime stories. Feel safe from emotional accountability. What are we looking at here? I'm asking questions. Educate me, okay? Because we've concluded that our mother loves us more than our wives. Shebi, right? I smell paranoia. We call it masculinity. The women call it toxic masculinity. We say there's no such thing as toxic masculinity. There's only masculinity. Put your foot down and hide your money with your mommy. Hakimi style. Even though the Hakimi story has been debunked, but let's just pretend it's real, okay? Modern men. When we say controlling behavior, well, shouldn't you be in control? That's the point. You feel like you're losing control, so you're moving mad. That's the point. But let me know what your personal opinion is. Gentlemen, let me hear you, because my numbers show that 60% of you are men. Okay, I can even show you. Let me see. No, because of the slow internet. Let me not disrupt the internet. But when I get back to real internet, I'll show you. 60 to 70% in recent times that's been coming here are men. So let me ask you, I know we're busy, we're working, but let me ask you, just answer the guy in the mirror. Okay? Just answer the guy in the mirror. What's your personal opinion? If your mother protects you more than your wife respects you, have you really built a family? Because internally, that's what we're trying to do. We're trying to build a family. We're trying to keep it contained. And we're resenting the idea that 70% of divorces are initiated by women. Somebody said orchestrated. I said, no, that's not orchestration. The person that will orchestrate the whole divorce is an evil person. You should be happy they left your life. Okay, so let's even stop that conversation. Initiated does not mean it's the beginning of it. Usually they've left years before they initiated it. Right? But we resent that. We don't like that. All right? So let me ask you a question again. If your mother protects you more than your wife respects you, are you really building a family? Just answer the guy in the mirror. And if love is supposed to meet all of our 6 basic human needs, right? We're talking about certainty, variety, significance, connection, growth, and contribution. Why do us men keep choosing control over connection? Why? And we call it leadership, right? A man is the head of the household. Well, if the fish rottens from the head down, what do you think is going to happen? What are your expectations exactly? What are your expectations? Is it really about money? Is this rumored stupid story about Akon and Hakimi, is this really about money or about a misguided pride? What's going on here, gentlemen? Let's talk to ourselves. If you need to hide your wealth to feel safe in love, what are you truly reaching? Would you still consider that a strong masculine frame? I mean, consider the fact that there are lawyers, there are structures, there are LLCs, there are legal structures, there are trusts that you can put money in, and you can still legally hide money properly. If the real reason is money and not paranoia, you can still hide money. Here's the truth. I've always told you this. Prenups can protect assets, yes, but they don't protect your emotional poverty. They don't. Okay. The average person don't even need all this legal linguistic nonsense. They don't. Okay. But the average person will have to deal with emotional mastery, emotional intelligence. That's what I'm inviting you to do. Let's talk more about this. We need to have more conversations around this, because the fact that story went wild is telltale sign. Marriott. Hi, Marriott. It's a boogie mama stories. Yeah. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. Hopefully, you've been enlightened, educated. Do me a favor. As we're dropping videos, please help me share them. It takes 1 or 2 clicks. Share. Just share with the world. And, I think all I'm trying to do is provoke certain insights. I don't have all the answers, but I have a lot of questions that will help us. Okay? I have a lot of questions that will help us. Let me see. Mara says, men are weirdos. Why should your family of 30 years suffer due to divorce? Yeah. So remember, it's not about Akon. It's about the fact that somebody could relate with this and make this go viral and celebrate this news. It is weird. It's very, very weird. I have to agree with that. All right. Hopefully you've been enlightened, educated. I'll see you on I'll be right back. I'll be right back. Promise you guys. Take care. God bless.
This is Ola, man of Prestige, your favorite relationship and marriage coach. If you enjoyed this, smash that like, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs it. Be a part of the Prestige family. My wife Lola and I have written 2 powerful books, Get My Marriage Back and Number 1 Red Flag. Yours free at manofprestige.com. For personal coaching, send me a WhatsApp request for consultation to +1 732 305 8577. Stay tuned for more. Your journey to love and prestige starts here.